Eileen the Travel Bug. Today I would like to talk to you about my 7 biggest pet peeves when it comes to flights. So my first pet peeve is when people take off their shoes on the plane. Now, let me explain. I am guilty. I take off my shoes on the plane. I like to be comfortable, so I sit in my seat in my socks. But if I get up, I make sure that I am wearing my shoes because the floor on the airplane is pretty dirty. And the lavatory, don't even get me started. I leave my seat, I have my shoes on. But at my seat, I take off my shoes. I like to be comfortable. So I make sure that my shoes don't smell and my feet don't stink. If they did, I would put my shoes in a bag and I would make sure that I have some slippers to put on my feet. That kind of controls the odor a little bit. The other thing along that line of having no shoes on is when people take their feet and stick them between the seats in front of them. And nothing like sitting there, head against the window and you're all nice and comfy, cozy, and then all of a sudden you get this foot coming out right beside your head. That's gross. Don't do that. Make sure that if you take off your shoes, you keep everything in your space. Even if you had your shoes on, that's still gross. Make sure you keep your feet in your space and don't invade other people's. So be mindful and respectful of other people's spaces. I don't have to tell you that. It's a pet peeve. We all have it. My next pet peeve are loud talkers. So, airplanes are loud, let's face it, and we have to talk up a little bit so that we can hear each other. So I'm really talking about those people who really talk loud and everybody around can hear their whole conversation. And particularly after the lights are dimmed on a longer haul flight and it's quiet time, people are resting or just settling in, watching movies, or they're trying to have a sleep. No, there's a time and place for everything, and that is just so annoying. So for those loud talkers, I recommend that we bring headphones, particularly the noise canceling headphones. That way, if you're in a situation where you have loud talkers around you, you can cancel them out by just putting on the headphones. Works like a charm. And the other thing, in and along that same line, is when people are using their devices without a headset and you can hear their movie playing or you can hear their music, or I'm sure you've been in restaurants where people are having conversation on their phone, having loud conversations. It's very annoying. So when you're on an airplane, make sure that you have that headset available in case you run into a situation like that. It happened to us on the last flight. There was a young person playing a game console and they did not have any headphones on, so everybody could hear the whole pew 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 and all that fun stuff. But luckily, I had my headset. I fell right to sleep. So my next pet peeve is waiting in line at the lavatory. It's so annoying. So first of all, let me just address the people who have to sit beside the lavatory. Somebody has to sit there. They have to deal with those nasty smells, and they have to deal with people standing in front of them. And what do you do when you're standing there? You're looking around. So you got people looking at you the whole time. Very annoying. So my recommendation there is if you can select your seat, try to select it away from the lavatory. But however, everybody has to go to the restroom at some point in time. So it's a fact of nature. And it seems like, my bladder is very much aware of the fact that I don't want to have to use the lavatory. So first thing that's going to happen is I'm going to need to use the lavatory. So my recommendation is obviously go before you board the plane. Don't go to the lavatory before takeoff. Wait until you're in the air. The flight crew really frown upon that, so just wait until you get in the air. That brings me to my first tip though. Once you're in the air and that seatbelt sign goes off, go to the restroom. Whether you really need to or not, it's a good time to go because more than likely there won't be many people wanting to go at that time. And you get a jump on the situation, if you know what I mean. And there's usually less people. They usually serve a breakfast service, And what I would suggest is going probably about 45 minutes to a half an hour before breakfast service, because once they turn the lights back on, everybody wakes up and the first thing everybody wants to do is to use the restroom. So try to time it so that you're up just a little bit earlier and you can use the restroom before everybody else. So my next pet peeve are people kicking the back of the seat. Now, I've had not children, believe it or not, adults who were very uncomfortable in their seat, moving around a lot and pulling my seat. Every time they were getting up, they would pull on the back of my seat. And, next thing you know, I'm rocking. It's not a rocking chair, but, I felt like it. The only time I want to be, bouncing around in my chair is if there's turbulence, and I don't want that either. So the other situation, of course, is where you have small children and they are also kicking the seat. So in a situation like that, what I would recommend is trying talking to the child. In a non-creepy way, of course. But ask them, if it's their first time flying, if they're enjoying the flight, do they have coloring books with them, or just, engage them so as to distract them a little bit. It might settle them down, because a lot of times the reason they're doing it is out of boredom. And talk to the parents too, ask them how they're doing. And the other thing is, if it gets to be a little bit excessive and that didn't work, then maybe ask the parent just to be mindful. They're kind of kicking the seat a lot. You just remind them every once in a while that I'm sitting here, and hopefully there's no pushback. But you can always talk to the flight crew as well, and perhaps they might be able to assist. So my next pet peeve, I like to call the reclining seat saga. So we know that everybody has the right to recline their seats. It's a thing, right? I like to recline my seat too. But I try to be mindful of particular times where, it's not a good idea. So when we're having food service, I try to put my seat back so that way the people behind me can, comfortably eat their meal or snacks or what have you. And there's nothing worse than trying to have food on a tray and the seat is leaning back and your drink doesn't fit. Once the food service is done, yeah, I'll recline. I'll look back and I'll make sure that they're complete. And what's an extra few minutes? I might ask the person in front of me if they could just put their seat up for about 10 minutes while I finish my meal, if that would be okay. I mean, it's their right to say no, but sometimes just asking, they might not be aware. And if you ask nicely, they may do it. Oh, this next one is a big one for me. Strong odors. So I like to pack my own food. I bring snacks with me on every flight. And I try to be mindful of the snacks I pack. So nothing with strong odors. No boiled eggs, tuna fish, or anything very garlicky. I had at my last flight, actually, we had to eat dinner at the airport, and we grabbed something with a lot of garlic, and I felt so bad eating it in the airport because I knew the smell was awful. But I'm so glad. I would never bring that on a plane, never, because you're in a tin can. There's nothing you can do, right? So I would not bring that on the plane, but I felt bad just eating it in the airport. But to my point, just don't bring anything with strong odors. The other thing is perfume and cologne. We all like to smell nice, but when you're in that tin can, it's awful to be around someone who has showered in cologne. And even if it's, a light scent, some people are scent sensitive. So I would recommend just not bother with the perfume or cologne. Wait until you get off the plane. You can use the restroom, grab your perfume, spray a couple sprays, and you're good to go. And the last point to that is hygiene. So when I had that sandwich with a lot of garlic, definitely went into the restroom and brushed my teeth, because there's nothing worse than having bad breath or BO, or just being stinky on the plane. I have been on planes where people have not showered and not worn deodorant, and it was the most awful thing to be around for 4 or 5 hours. If you are in a situation like that, COVID gave us a gift. It's called the mask. And I recommend always traveling with a mask. You have to smell somebody for that long? I will put the mask on so that I don't have to smell it, because I can't do it. I can't do it. Bring a mask just in case. And my last pet peeve is the armrest. Who has right to that armrest? Well, let me tell you, there is some etiquette to that. If you're in the aisle seat, that aisle armrest is yours. If you're at the window armrest is yours. If you are that unfortunate person stuck in the middle, the only ray of sunshine that you have is that you get both armrests. That belongs to the person in the middle. Well, folks, that's it. That's my 7 biggest pet peeves. Did I forget something? Is there something else that is a big pet peeve of yours that you want to share? Comment below. I would love to hear what your thoughts are. Well, until next time, folks.